call, please.
Okay, 1 second, I just gotta start the recording. Okay, Zashki,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Bertle,
Here.
Duffy,
Here.
Kadunkel,
Here.
Nino. Vivian is here, right?
Muted, but she's here.
Okay, and then Nate Bell hasn't arrived yet, but he should be here shortly.
Joining right now. He's just joining in.
Okay,
Do you want to add him to a roll call officially, Janelle?
sure. And then Bell. He's
Still
here.
joining.
Okay, we'll get him joined. Here he is. Nate. Approval of the agenda as published. Do we have a motion?
Totally. Or
I'll
second. Whatever we need.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, agenda approved. I've got, before we get to a motion for approving the minutes, does anyone have any changes or corrections to note? I would like to note two things. The first is on page 7 of the minutes, and it refers to our discussion about the mask, the potential for a mask mandate. As it reads in the packet, it says Zashki indicated that the resounding comment he has heard throughout the village is that individual business owners want to do their own thing, but would appreciate the village providing them with a mechanism for imposing regulations that would have some teeth. He then suggested that the village board go on record as fully supporting individual business owners' mask mandates. To my recollection, that is not what I conveyed. My recollection is that I indicated that the resounding comment I had heard throughout the village is that individual business owners want to do their own thing, and I suggested that the village board consider a village recommendation regarding masks and face coverings. The other thing I would like to point out is on page 10 of the minutes. At the bottom of the page regarding Miles Danhausen's comments about the ice rink committee, the last sentence reads, Zashki requested that Danhausen contact him prior to the time that the finance committee actually addresses the issue, comma, as he has a few questions regarding some of the logistical issues that could arise if the expanded and improved ice rink facility actually does come to fruition. I do not recall making any kind of a statement like that. What I recall is that everything after the comma, Zashki requested that Danhausen contact him prior to the time that the finance committee actually addresses the issue regarding the future direction of the ice rink committee. And as long as no one has any exception to those corrections, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes with Janelle making those changes as noted.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second.
Motion by Bell, second by Kadanko. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. We'll start with any correspondence received prior that Janelle will go over, and then if anyone from the public present has a comment on non-agenda item, we will welcome that. Janelle?
Okay, in your packets, there's a pamphlet concerning the Care for Door County program that's been initiated by Destination Door County. It's pretty well self-explanatory. There also was an incident call log for January, February, March, and April that was received from the Door County Sheriff's Department, and there was a report in that packet as well of the total number of incident responses that deputies from the Sheriff's Department have made throughout Door County. There also was a thank you that was received from Neighbor to Neighbor volunteer caregivers for the donation that the village made to that organization.
Denise?
Who authorized authorized that $1,000 to neighbor? We have never given to that organization before.
That was
That was
before my
authorized through
time.
the, I'm sorry, that was authorized
okay.
through the budget process.
Okay, I have no recollection of that. Because did they send us a letter of request?
They did send a letter of request and it was kind of COVID related.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for clarification. And one more thing, Rob. In the minutes that we approved, I suggested that we move County Supervisor up on the agenda. He's still at number 10 or 11. So can we make note of that for next month's agenda?
Yeah, and what we did, Bo and I did for tonight was to try and, especially considering how long Heidi and Tasha were left hanging last meeting, try to structure things so that their issues could be dealt with first. But yes, we will certainly look to get the county report moved up sooner in the future, absolutely. Any comments from the public on a non-agenda item? Okay, we'll move right into business items. Number one, reinstitution of the Pledge of Allegiance. In the days before the election, it was made clear to me by our neighbors that the reinstitution of the pledge was a passionate issue with them. I promised our neighbors that I would move swiftly in addressing the issue upon the election being certified. Once the election was certified, I contacted each trustee separately and asked for their vote on whether we should reinstitute the Pledge of Allegiance or not. The votes came in as follows. 4 yes votes, let's reinstitute the pledge. 2 no votes, let's not reinstitute the pledge. And 1 abstention. Based on that, a majority vote of yes, we are reinstituting the Pledge of Allegiance beginning tonight. Bo's going to put a flag up on screen sharing, and I am going to stand and hope the mic carries and lead us through it. For anyone who wants to join in, we welcome you to, and for those of us who will be reciting the pledge, everyone please understand we do so with 100% respect for the American citizen rights of anyone who chooses not to recite it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thanks, Bo. Item number 2, discussion on the passage and adoption of ordinance number 282-051821, which revises section 22 of the Village of Sister Bay Board of Trustees bylaws and section 6 of the Village of Sister Bay Committee/Commission bylaws and rules pertaining to member compensation. Consider a motion for action as appropriate. Heidi, will you lead us through this, please?
So I'm sorry you have to see this again, but last month when we revised the bylaws, it was meant to be just to update committee membership. And then we snuck in some compensation factors in there, which requires a more formal approval process. So there's an ordinance here in the packet to adopt those changes by ordinance. That's what you're voting on tonight.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Kadenko, second by Nino, that we adopt the ordinance as noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3, consider a motion to convene into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851G to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bell, second by Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Need a roll call.
Yeah. All right.
You want me to take the roll call?
Bell,
Okay.
yes, Baker, second, and then Janelle, roll call.
Okay. Berto,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Kadanko,
Yes.
Nino,
Yes.
Zashki.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion
Okay.
carried.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Bo is going to do his handiwork. Motion by Nino, second by Kadanko. Do we need a roll call for that, Janelle?
Yes.
Okay.
Baker,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Berto,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Kadanko,
Yes.
Nino,
Yes.
and Zashki.
Yes.
Okay, we're back in open. So we need to make, Janelle, can you read the motions that we're gonna be doing coming out of, closed?
Sure. 1 second. All right. The first motion is that the village board approves the orchard agreement between the Village of Sister Bay and Sequist Orchards that was reviewed at this meeting as amended. Would
We have a
someone,
motion?
does someone want to make that motion?
I will.
I'll second.
Motion by Berto, second by Kadanko. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, the
Michelle, you wanna
next
read the
motion
second one?
is that the village board approves the document that is entitled Commercial Vendor Agreement with Sister Bay Scenic Boat Tours that was reviewed at this meeting as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Baker, second by Kadanko. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
And then the,
Opposed? Motion carried.
okay, then the third motion is that the village board approves the lease agreement for the boathouse, which building is located at 10697 North Bay Shore Drive, that was reviewed at this meeting as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Berto, second by Kadanko. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6, a request from Pebble Beach Resorts LLC to conditionally surrender the reserved Class B license for the property located at 10620 Little Sister Road. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Randy, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The transfer of this nature, particularly with respect to a reserve liquor license, is unprecedented in the Village of Sister Bay. And the village board has in the past been unwilling to surrender its discretion in how to reissue this license if surrendered.
I'll make a motion that the village board denies the conditional surrendering of the Reserve B Class license by Pebble Beach LLC for the property located at 10620 Little Sister Road.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion by Bell, second by Baker. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 7, discussion regarding a recommendation from the Finance Committee that the 2020 financial statements for the Village of Sister Bay be formally accepted. Consider a motion for action. Tasha,
Yes.
we turn this over to you. Thank you.
Okay. The financial statements have been provided to you in their very long form on your electronic copy. 2020 was a good year overall. Not a lot of surprises from anything. We have a review of some of the financial statements in the packet for you and in the report. Please let me know if you have any questions, and if you'd like to look at them in more detail, I'd be happy to sit down with anyone or have a phone conversation with you, but I didn't want to go through too much here.
Clean bill of health, the village is sitting pretty good.
The village is really sitting, it's so much improved from where we were a few years ago. Fund balance is up, debt is down, fund balances almost across the board are up. So cash is up, a lot healthier across the board.
Do we
I'll
have
make that motion.
Sorry, Denise, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Berto, second by Bell. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8,
Good
discussion.
job, everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tasha.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, who made the motion and seconded it?
Erdo made the motion.
Okay, thank you. And then Bell?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 8, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Finance Committee that Resolution 460-051-82021 and the proposed capital assets policy for the Village of Sister Bay be approved as presented. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Tasha?
This is one of the several finance policies that I would like to see the village move forward with. This one is part of our capital assets improvement plan that we are working on this year. The Finance Committee already took a look at it and approved it. We're really just putting practice into policy here.
Does this mean I'm more likely to get my snow machine?
We can certainly put that in the capital improvement plan.
It was in the capital improvement plans.
I just have one question on the resolution itself on page 114. Why is the last, where it says it's introduced at a regular meeting, why is the font different?
I don't know, it doesn't show very different on my computer, so.
Okay, it shows quite a bit different on mine. Oh, maybe it's my computer. Okay.
You may not have the same font that Tasha used when she drafted it on your computer.
We'll make it uniform before we post it.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Berto, second by Kadanko. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 9, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Finance Committee that the Village Board pass and adopt resolution number 459-051-82021 that updates the designated public depositories and signers for the Village of Sister Bay. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Tasha?
Okay. The public depositories and signers resolution is something that we take a look at every year. With a change in the village president, we certainly need to approve new signers on the accounts. The public depositories are not changing from what we had before. All of those were approved before. So it's really just a change of signers. It's the addition of Rob Zashke as signer for all accounts with the exception of Marina Fest, and the addition of Dan Klansky as a signer for the utility accounts.
But technically, was Dave still a signer?
He was removed in December. I can remove easy, but I can't add very easy.
Okay. Just curious.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Duffy, second by Kadanko. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10, review of the financial statements and consideration of a motion to approve the monthly bills. Does anyone have any questions for Tasha?
I do. Page 126.
Okay.
To Dor Kiwani, time liquor license request.
Yes.
Do they? I didn't know that they were selling alcohol. Or does it just mean the beer and wine?
It's beer and wine then. It's whatever kind of license they have. I guess I noted what was noted on the form.
Okay. And I see again on page 127, Bo, I know this has been an issue in the past, that there are 5 purchases from Amazon, which goes against our purchasing policy. Were these really things that could not be purchased someplace else? Every month, there's stuff on there from the Parks Department.
I will have a conversation with Parks again, but I do believe that these ones they didn't have available to them and they needed to expedite it.
Those are my only questions.
Well, and just for clarification, I think, if I'm remembering it correctly, we want to promote local purchases to the degree that they're within, I think it was 10%.
Yes, you're correct, Pat.
So then if any department, sought a product and could not source it locally for 10% or less, then whether it's Amazon, Walmart or whoever, that's okay.
Well, I bring it up because this was an issue, it's been an issue for months
Okay.
going on, that things could have been purchased locally that weren't, and so I'm just following up again.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we got a new president and, just make sure we're all aware of what the policy is.
Yep.
Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll move we accept.
I'll second.
Motion by Nino, second by Bell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Report on county activities from the county supervisor, Dave Lenow. Dave, thank you for taking it away.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
We had our admin meeting today, administrative committee meeting today, and the biggest topic of discussion, of course, was the change in the CDC position on masking for fully vaccinated people. And I have a couple of things to report. First of all, effective May 24th, the county will begin following CDC guidelines for masking, and the employees and public will not be required to wear a mask upon entering county buildings, except for healthcare facilities, the jail, Health and Human Services, and ADRC. Okay. Effective June 1st, all employees are expected to return to the workplace 100% of their scheduled work time. There can be exceptions based on, of course, medical necessity or approved leave of absences, or if there's quarantines that are required. Social distancing, if vaccination status cannot be determined, the safest practice is, of course, for all participants to follow recommended social distancing and infection control. And the same goes for traveling and training. Training should be done virtually if possible, or attendance in person is allowed if virtual is not an option. I want to hold up a sign that is it's called Choosing Safer Activities. And the idea of this is it shows what unvaccinated people can do and what vaccinated people can do. And basically, they're saying that Wisconsin Department of Health and Sue at our Department of Health in the county is basically saying if you're vaccinated, there is no more restrictions on you, basically for any reason, unless you choose to mask up. Okay, so I'll hold this up. I don't know if you can see it or not. Probably not large enough. But vaccinated is the green column. All green down, there's no restrictions. Large crowds, small crowds, sports activities, sports complexes, baseball games, football games, whatever. And on the right side, or the other side, is what unvaccinated people should do. Now, of course, the big issue is how do you know if somebody's vaccinated or not? It's going to be entirely on the honor system, and that's what the Wisconsin Department of Health and the County Department of Health has chosen to follow, because those are the basic CDC guidelines. So I don't know if you have any questions on that, but that was the majority of our discussion today, was getting through what was going to happen to the county, the buildings, etc. That also means, I know there's been a lot of questions in the past, what about libraries? They are considered an open county facility. Effective June 1st, they should be fully open for everyone, as they have been in the past prior to the pandemic. So things are changing pretty rapidly certainly throughout the country, but certainly in Wisconsin. Wisconsin continues to go down in cases. The county continues to go down in cases. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but Door County was the leading county for vaccinations, particularly with vulnerable groups. And that's why the health department is comfortable in following the CDC guidelines and allowing people to come back to work 100% and call for no more masking in county facilities.
What about meetings? Shouldn't we still do Zoom?
Oh, interesting you bring that up, because we also decided that starting in June, we will have all of our meetings back in the county building, and Zoom meetings would be by an exception. If you have a medical issue, something else comes up, you can't attend, that would be fine, but the expectation is that supervisors will now start sitting in all of their meetings, sitting in their committee meetings. At the board, there's not going to be social distancing. We're going to go back to our routine of the 21 seats and how it's laid out, unless somebody has an exception. Now, if somebody as an individual chooses to social distance in those situations and wants to mask, that's perfectly fine. And the expectation is that somebody who does not mask will respect the person who is masking, and if that person asks them to mask or asks to be social distance, that they comply with that request. And that's the expectation. So yeah, they are going back to quote the non-Zoom meetings, other than by exception.
So Dave, does that mean that in those public forum meetings, open public forum meetings, there will not be a Zoom connection made as well? It's just if you want to participate, you show up in person?
No, we do want to continue. The general consensus was, and it has to be approved by the board, full board, but the general consensus of the admin committee was that it was a good thing to continue the Zoom access for people in the public. We've gotten a lot more participation. There's a lot more people tuning in and watching the meetings and asking questions as a result, and we all felt that was a good thing. So we will continue to do that. We have, at the county level, we have increased our technology to allow that to happen on a broader scale, as well as to have a better way to present and broadcast meetings and our committee meetings. So we have 3 rooms that are set up for that at the county building: the Peninsula building, the chambers room, and what's called the back chambers room, which is a smaller committee room. And committees that had been meeting, for instance, out the sheriff's department or out the highway shop, they will now be coming to one of those 3 rooms at the county building. So in fact, it can be broadcast out easily on Zoom, and more people can participate that way.
Anything else, Dave?
We got one other thing. We did go through the HIPAA policies. The HIPAA policy, as far as confidentiality with what's going on, has been expanded a little bit, and the state statutes have changed, so we are changing our statutes to match that, and I'm sure that will come down probably through the League of Municipalities, to all the municipalities too, as to what has been changed. And other than that, just making sure. Other than that, that's it. It was, the big thing was the masking issue and what was going to happen with that.
Denise?
Dave, if everybody's coming back, returning to in-person work on June 1st, and you bringing up HIPAA, so I presume that a supervisor cannot ask an employee if they've been vaccinated. Is that correct?
Yes, under the guidelines of HIPAA, yes, that would be correct. In other words, you can't ask them officially. Between people or between friends, are you vaccinated or you're not vaccinated? That's fine. But the individual who's being asked also does not need to reply to that.
It's usually if an employee chooses to disclose that information, we cannot take that for account.
So the whole idea of the vaccination issue is what the health department of the state and local is calling it is the honor system.
Because we know how well that works.
Of course. I think the whole issue is, because this was asked today, the science behind it. We always said, everybody said that we were supposed to follow the science. Well, the CDC has followed the science and has come back and said there's been enough vaccinations in the United States that even if you are exposed to it, you don't have to quarantine. If you're exposed to it and you know it, you don't have to quarantine. You don't have to test. It's totally up to you what you want to do, because the vaccine is extremely effective. And so if you had the vaccine, it's almost 100% chance that you will not be hospitalized. You will not have serious disease if in fact you catch it again, even though you were vaccinated. And
right.
so it is working, and that's what they were trying to obtain.
Yep.
Good news.
Yeah, it just seems weird,
got here. I mean,
I was saying that we're getting there. I'm not saying 100% there, but we're obviously getting there, and the science is following that.
Well, I think when I was on DHS's website, or the county's website today, it said 60.5% of the people who can get vaccines, who are eligible for that, have received it in Door County.
Pretty good.
That's a pretty good percentage, and it although the percentage is slowing down, the number of people that are getting it, it is still, in fact, rising. That percentage is rising.
I wanted to mention to you, Dave, I was down at the ARDC getting vaccinated 2 weeks ago, and that process was very well run, very efficient. There's a number of volunteers there. It went very smooth.
Yes, we've gotten great remarks and great response for the clinics that were put on, both by the hospital, the health department, and emergency services. They've all done a great job.
And really happy that they're continuing here in Sister Bay every 3 weeks.
Yes, I agree.
I guess there's an upside finally to having, such an aging population in Door County. We've got our vaccinations sooner at least.
Right, exactly. We're ahead of the curve. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. And Dave, I just want to clarify for you and as well as Denise's earlier point too, regarding why we didn't have you up further on the agenda. The other thing that Bo and I had discussed was considering at the time that we thought there may be substantive discussion that we would need you involved in regarding the bass fishing tournament discussion. That's why we kept that together. Regarding 12 and the agenda as stated as a recommendation on the bass tournaments, provided that all DNR permitting criteria are met, I would reference everyone in the packet if you did not see it. Our administrator has passed us the recommendation via the packet that the village board deny the request for the bass fishing tournament at the Sister Bay Marina on June 13th until the representative can provide proof of that permit. And to further, if you did read the page in the packet on that, I'd like to clarify one thing for everybody. It says in there that in the follow-up session we had with the Marina Committee, I noted that a DNR permit was required for bass tournaments with 25 or more participants with a weigh-in. That is incorrect. What I reported and what is accurate is that either one of two types of DNR permits is required for bass tournaments with 20 or more boats. And if it's a catch and release tournament where they're using the new technology to photograph, weigh the fish on the water, release it back in, that's a fairly quick and simple permit per the DNR to be acquired. If they are keeping the fish in their live wells throughout the entire tournament day and then weighing them on shore and releasing them afterwards, which is how we understood this tournament to be happening, that's what's known to the DNR, defined by the DNR as a catch and hold tournament. It requires a more stringent permit process, which DNR claims requires 30 days. So that is where Bo jumped in and numerous times reached out to try and confirm that. We don't have any confirmation of it. Obviously, we're well within the 30 days now. So we have the recommendation from the administrator to deny the request. Do we have a motion?
Well, I guess I would, if for some reason he has it, if this guy's done it before and he has the permit, are there other things that need to be approved? I mean, if tomorrow he calls back and say, yep, here's the permit, and he shows it to Bo, is it a go? Is it a, we need to reconvene? I mean, if there's more discussion that needs to be happening, I think we should have it so that if he doesn't have a permit, it's off. If you do have a permit, it's on, or this committee decides it isn't for some reason.
So then it sounds like what you're suggesting, Pat, is somebody make a motion without regard to both the administrator's recommendation and that there would be a different motion to move forward with approving.
Well, at our last meeting, it was we wanted more information to approve it. All I'm saying is if there's more discussion that should be had, we have the discussion, not just leave it on the permit. If he comes back and says, yeah, I've got the permit, I've done it, the DNR approves it, do we still say no? Or is that yes? Or is it, I mean,
Well, it sounds like we're either going to get a motion on the recommendation of our village administrator to deny, or we're going to get a motion which essentially ignores the recommendation of the administrator and is for approving the tournaments.
Okay.
What you're
No,
saying,
we haven't.
we've made motions before where it is, if a requirement is granted, the approval is there. But without the approval, or in this case the permit, it would be denied. So until such time as the tournament coordinator can be contacted and he verify proof of the permit or not, there's the decision. But the board says, and if we need more discussion, that's fine, but if he has the permit, we're okay, or maybe we're still not, but if he doesn't, then no. So we could be amending the administrator's decision. We agree with the administrator that if a permit is not presented for proof, then the tournament's denied. If a permit is presented, if that would be the determining factor, we will allow the tournament. That's all I'm saying.
Denise and
Rob, you were the one that had the most questions, so have your questions been asked? The Marina Committee wanted to move forward. I agree with Pat that we can deny it at this point, but if everybody's questions have been answered and we still think that this is okay to have in the village, then that appropriate motion should be if he comes up with the permit. So were all of your questions answered, and does anybody have any others if a motion like that were to be made?
I commend Dave for doing an excellent job of recalling a distant conversation he had with the tournament coordinator, albeit he couldn't remember certain things. Certain questions were unanswered. Nate?
I think that we should conditionally approve this if he can come up with the permit for the first tournament. I don't think that we should do the second one this year. Let's give him a chance to get this going for the June, if they have the proper permitting.
Correct.
And I still am against this second one because the timing on there, it's stacking marbles. I understand that it may be launching early in the morning and this could happen at the marina anyway, but to encourage traffic to take up on such a busy weekend, it is one of the busiest weekends in the village. I don't think that's a good idea, but I do think that if they can get the permitting in place for June 13th, I would like to make a motion that we do that.
I'll second that, Nate.
Okay, motion by Bell, second by Berto, that we amend the motion and approve just the June 13th tournament if...
Conditional upon permitting.
Okay.
And we're not amending the motion. Nate made the motion.
Just a motion.
Any other discussion from anyone?
So then you're going to deny the request for October, Nate?
No,
We're going to amend.
we're only focused on June 13th.
We're going to amend.
As part of that, I was saying deny the October 3rd, approve the 13th, pending the permitting.
I agree with what you said, Nate, in discussion. I don't necessarily think we should completely deny the October. Maybe this goes really well. Dave had launch numbers for us that the launch isn't really busy. Every weekend is going to be busy in Door County from January until December probably. So, maybe we can take it up to see after it goes if we want to consider it be an option rather than just flat out say no this soon. That would be my only apprehension to that part of it, Nate.
I guess I understand what you're saying, but let's see this actually go in place once. And I understand that it's going to be busy every weekend. I think that is a particularly terrible weekend to do it, personally. I hear what you're saying, Chad. I just disagree with you.
Okay.
So Chad, what is your rationale for why doing a first-time event like this in the village, you wouldn't want to try it first and see how it goes? What's your rationale for being so fervent about saying we need to have two right away?
I'm not being fervent. My rationale was we get time to see how it goes. We can see how this goes in June, and then we can decide. Revisit, we can see how it goes, and then decide on October before we say no. So exactly.
Right, so our July or August meeting, we could have a discussion again as to what happened on June 3rd. Maybe we say, hey, we didn't like it, we don't like it, forget it. Or maybe we say, you know what, it's no different than a typical day. And I mean, yeah, it's gonna be busy, but the flip side of that is, if I can guarantee you, we will in no way, shape, or form overburden the marina's parking lot with marina customers. And to say that we should deny the marina, which is an enterprise fund that needs to pay for itself, the ability to use its services so that we can free up those resources for non-marina paying customers, I would take issue with. So if we're gonna do that, I would want a sign up that says, unless you've got a ticket from the marina office to park in the marina lot, you will be ticketed and towed on that day. Because that's a marina lot. If you want overflow, that's fine, but if you're gonna deny the marina the ability to generate revenue when it is its own revenue source, then those people that wanna use it need to pay like marina customers do.
When you say those people, what do you mean those people, Pat?
Anybody that doesn't have a launch ramp pass, you would go get a launch ramp pass for $10, and that allows you to park in the marina lot. So if you don't have a pass on your dash, you will be ticketed.
Okay, I don't recall that being something that anyone was or that being an issue.
Well, what I'm saying is,
let me real quick, Pat. Pat's point backstory is that marina lot exists from the DNR for marina use. It's used often by village people that come and do a lot of different things, and that's a great thing. Marina doesn't shut it down to those people ever. But what he's saying is, if you're gonna prematurely, for the fall possibly, make decisions based on things that the marina needs revenue to function, right? The marina doesn't get anything from the village. You know, like the baseball field is it's not required to cash flow. The marina is. So I don't agree to shut it down, but that's what Pat's saying, and I understand why he's saying it.
There's a difference between shutting it down and not having an event. Those are two very different things.
And here's the thing that from the beginning has concerned me about this. You guys made clear from the beginning this was to drive revenue for the marina, and that's what was important. You're making clear again tonight that's what's important. You know, we went to the Marina Committee meeting, and the only person on the committee who voiced any concern for the habitat, the natural resources, in particular the natural resources of Sister Bay Harbor, was Fuzzy. Everyone else had nothing to say about that. So overridingly, again tonight, it's clear you're looking at this, you know, we're on our own. We need revenue. You guys did over $750,000 in gross revenue last year. You did over $250,000 in operating revenue, and you're getting $10 a boat launch from 25 boats. So if you're going, you know, if you were going to come to this meeting, Chad, and
I'm not fighting for revenue.
No. Let me finish. Don't interrupt me.
What Pat was saying.
Okay, don't interrupt me.
But don't accuse me of shit.
I'm not accusing you of anything.
I know.
You're coming here talking about how important it is to use this tournament to drive revenue for the marina because...
I didn't say that.
Okay. Then why did you bring up revenue at all?
I was telling you what Pat was trying to say.
Okay. And at the last meeting, when you continually bring up, you looked with Dave at the launch records and showed that those were light days for launches. You're referencing driving revenue.
I'm referencing it's not a problem to accommodate people. It's not a problem to accommodate like we accommodate weddings. We're just trying to accommodate somebody that came to us. That's it. It's not nefarious. It's not any more complicated. We're just trying to be good people to use our wonderful facilities. That's it. That's all it is.
Right. And I very much appreciate and am for valuing our natural resources, but the idea that 25 boats, because they are telling us in advance they want to do this, is any different than any Saturday or Sunday when we have more than 25 individual fishermen launch and go fishing. There isn't any difference. So,
That's fine, Pat, I'm not gonna, I've made
So
my
let's see that,
point.
okay, I hear your point, Pat, I hear you, Chad, saying, okay, let's see what this is. If I can get the second pulled, I'll amend mine just to say just dealing with the June event. I still have those concerns about the October event, but, let's make this decision based on data. Is
I
that
agree.
fair?
That's great. But, yeah,
thank you.
But that's pending Denise.
I will change and follow your motion.
Okay. Then I'll amend that motion. So we approve the June 13th, we don't say anything about October.
not approving October at all.
Okay, not disproving October either.
Either one.
Okay, so Janelle, can you read back the motion, Janelle?
Yeah. That permission will not be granted for a bass fishing tournament to be conducted at the Sister Bay Marina on June 13th, 2021.
Until such time as the permit is,
Oh, okay, you want that in there? Okay,
yeah,
With the condition, yeah.
okay.
right.
Unless and until the organizer of the bass fishing tournament can provide proof that the DNR has provided a license for that tournament.
Correct.
Okay,
I think it's a permit, not a license.
Yeah,
a permit, okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so we had a motion by Bell and a second by Berto. Okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed. Motion carried. So we will be on for June 13th if they can provide the administrator the permit.
Right.
Okay, item number 13, discussion regarding potential extension of the Village of Sister Bay's declaration of public health emergency. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
Can I say something about that, Rob?
About the declaration of emergency?
Yes.
Sure.
Related to the county, that's one thing I forgot to mention before in the county. The county is also considering canceling their emergency declaration. They expect to hear something from the Department of Health at the state level sometime in the next couple of weeks, and at their June meeting, they would consider removing it. At this point in time, they were only considering keeping it in place, and gave them a couple extra weeks to see if they would lose anything or lose any potential reimbursement for anything in the latest federal programs that were announced a couple weeks ago. But they are also looking probably in June to cancel the emergency declaration. So just FYI.
And then, Dave, was there any discussion at the county level regarding the viability possibly of keeping the declaration going in the case of some strange, bizarre variant or some change in condition that would require a quick response with emergency services?
Well, you can always reinstate the emergency directive, and the chairman of the Board of Supervisors and the administrator do have emergency authority for a short period of time until the next meeting. So if something came up and we felt we had to institute something, we could do that, subject to approval at the following meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Denise?
So Dave, would it be your recommendation then that the village follow the county? And once the county then would not renew it, that it would be wise for us not to renew it also?
I guess what I'm saying is they're going to look at it for the next couple of weeks to see any additional guidance that's going to come out. The whole point of the emergency declaration, both at the village and at the county at the time, was to make sure that if something needed to be done quickly because things were happening, that could be done by the village. But in the background, the long-term look was to be able to make sure that we are in an emergency order, emergency declaration, if something needed to happen reimbursement-wise for things that could be reimbursed. So.
Right, and that's why I'm asking, just reimbursement wise. So if the county is going to be looking into that, because I was thinking that we would not renew this, but I guess I would feel more comfortable. I don't know what our bills have been, and certainly to not be able to get reimbursed for anything would be a shame. So yeah, that's the perspective that I was looking at it. So then if we would renew it for another month, see what the county comes up with, and then follow their lead on that.
Yeah.
And I am fairly comfortable that the county will probably end it in June. But
Yeah, I wouldn't want to beat the county to that punch just for reimbursement purposes.
I agree with all that.
Yes, I
Well, if that was a motion, I'll second Denise's motion. We'll wait for
Okay.
the argument.
Motion by Berto, second by Duffy. All
So
those
this is
in
to
favor?
extend it for another 30 days.
It goes till June 30th.
Okay.
Should we,
Extend for another 30 days.
I agree
In
with all
accordance
this.
with the Treaty of 1783.
Right.
I agree with all this, but should we just say, in the event the county stops theirs, we will?
No, we gotta be our own.
We'll vote on it.
Our own choices.
Okay.
Dave is a great advisor in this role.
Yes.
Lots of wisdom.
Oh, I just heard the comment saying that if the county wouldn't extend it, we wouldn't either. I just thought this would save us from even having to bring it up on another, that's all.
Okay, so we have a motion by Berto, a second by Duffy to extend the declaration for another 30 days. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Dave.
thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, Dave.
Number 14, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Utilities WWTP Committee that the Village Board pass and adopt Resolution number 45805182021 that approves the 2020 Electronic Compliance Maintenance Annual Report as presented. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. I'll turn this one over to the administrator.
Yep, so this one's.
Motion by Berto.
Second by Baker.
Motion by Berto, second by Baker. All in favor, say aye.
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 Good job again.
100%, no questions or issues, so we're good.
Yeah, fine by me.
Okay, discussion number 15, discussion regarding and confirmation of the village president's recommended citizen committee and commission appointments. Consider a motion for action as appropriate. We were working on this throughout the days leading up to the meeting tonight, so it's all going to be verbal, and I'll go over it with you. It's not in the packet. We have two plan commission members whose terms are expiring at the end of the month, Mary Kay Shumway and Lauren Ward. My recommendation is to reappoint both of them. Regarding the ad hoc ice rink committee, my recommendation is to reappoint all current members with one change, that Miles Danhausen Jr. takes over as chair and Cody Bolton remains as a regular member. And I would also be adding Kate Smith as a required citizen member, who has come recommended by various people, including Miles Danhausen. And regarding Zoning Board of Appeals, I am recommending that we reappoint our three active members whose terms are expiring at the end of the month, and that we also fill the long vacant 4th and 5th regular slots that we need to have filled. And my recommendation is that we fill those two slots with Roman Colick, Birchwood Lodge manager, and Liz Hecht.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Berto, second by Kadanko. All in favor, say aye.
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 All appointments and reappointments will...
Hold on. Well, Rob, I'm going against that one. Or nay.
Okay. One nay?
Yeah,
Okay.
nay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sorry about that. So we have one no from Nate. Motion carried. Number 16, report by the village administrator on village activities and projects.
Yeah, so I'll run down the list. We are still undergoing the moratorium from the zoning code perspective. We're still meeting, planning commission is still meeting to go through. So far, we have altered the definitions, the B1, B2, and B3 district. We do anticipate to stay on schedule. However, there was a question about potential extension if it was needed. I don't foresee that being needed at this time. Just a Parks and Streets update, we did just release 2 requests for proposals. One was for a swim dock cap repair, and number 2 was for the road reconstruction projects to be completed in 2021. I did want to update everyone today. I did talk to one firm who is actually going to meet Mike Carr out at the swim dock just to answer a couple questions. They did show extreme interest in that project, so that is a good sign. Moving forward for the Marina, Marina Committee did meet. They are preparing and getting ready for their opening day. As you can see, A dock was under some repair today. Obviously, we were looking for some warmer temperatures. Martel was able to get some concrete. They should be done and completed by the end of the day Friday, which is a good sign. Also, all of the repairs in-house for the bathrooms, the restrooms, and the building are still scheduled to be completed before Memorial Day weekend. So I just, wanted to let Dave and Dan Lundquist know I appreciate their, getting everything done on time, and getting everything presentable for the Marina members. There's a couple things that I'm working on right now. A lot of zoning and plan commission items that are coming up. I am working on some other ideas for zoning that we'll be talking about in the future. Some code changes here and there. Another update from the DNR side, I did get a call from our rep for the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Grant. As you can see in my report, we did get a few anonymous objections to our proposal amount. I do have a plan. I wouldn't say this is the end of the road. This is just I would call speed bump in the process. That may take a little more time. I will reach out to the DNR and I will reach out to the Land Trust. And if that means that we have to present in front of that Joint Finance Committee, we will do so. There could be a number of other outcomes here, so if you have any questions on that, just contact me individually and I can get you up to speed. The other thing too, the wastewater treatment plant is we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We do plan on having an opening ceremony. We'll schedule and coordinate that so that we could give all of the trustees, the USDA, and anybody else a tour and show you what changes we've brought to the treatment plant. So that's a good sign. The Door Hotel, this is just an update. I did provide some pictures there. Obviously, they're still working on the landscaping a little bit, but the Door Hotel is officially complete and did receive their occupancy permit. This does not mean that they're open for business at this time, however. This just means that Chris Schmeltz can get staff in there trained and organized inside the facility, get to know the business before it is open to the public. I do believe the last time I spoke with Chris, their opening weekend is Memorial Day weekend, so they are slated for that scheduled opening. And then the last thing I just wanted to talk about with some of the parking striping. I know that there was a concern about our parking spaces in the village. Our main concern, my main concern, was the Mill Road Beach parking area on the brick pavers there. Those spaces are not 9 by 20. Dan Lundquist did go out there and find a last, I would say last minute solution before the busy season comes and the cars are covering that area. They are paint matching the brick with some paint for the time being, and base striping will come back and ensure that those spaces this summer are 9 by 20. We will lose a few spaces out there. However, the bigger picture has us, the village, reviewing and potentially redoing that section of Mill Road into Bluffside, hopefully next year, so we can have a more thought out and well done plan on the parking in that area. So I thought this was a good short-term solution. So I will update everyone. I can provide pictures at the next meeting.
Do any of the trustees have any interest in us having the administrator pursue a scheduled trustee walkthrough of the Door Hotel prior to opening?
I can do that if there is interest.
That'd be nice.
Well, I thought, maybe I'm wrong, but at some point we were invited to some like grand opening or something, and that provide the opportunity to.
He will have a grand opening, but if you'd like, I can ask Chris to give trustees a tour if you'd like. If you don't want to be, part of that, grand opening in a big group, I just leave that invitation to everyone.
Denise?
I have some questions for Bo on his report. Well, first one, I guess.
Can I just stop you for 1 second, Denise? I'm going to then assume that there is no interest besides Vivian for a tour ahead of the grand opening?
You can reach out to me individually if you'd like as well.
Well, and while I think a tour is great and all, I wouldn't want to give him any misconception that there's some issue. I don't have a building inspector's, purview to know if it's up to snuff or not. I mean, and I wouldn't want to relay that to Chris, that the board's looking for some approval, that's all. I'm sure I'll see it at some point. I don't want to make the guy feel bad or go through some special hoops is all. Would be my thought.
Denise, sorry about that.
Pat, we talked about the water levels coming up when we were talking at the last Parks meeting on capping the swim dock. What have they done in the last month? Do you know?
Yeah, just earlier this week, yesterday, I got an Army Corps update, and they are projecting that they are not, generally July is high water mark.
Right.
However, they are saying that the forecast based upon the lack of rain is that Superior may go up a tick, but all the rest of the lakes, they do not anticipate getting any higher. They feel like they're at high water mark for this season. Now, if all of a sudden it starts raining heavily for several weeks in a row, absolutely, we could see an increase in the lake level. However, based upon the long-term weather outlook, they feel like we're at high water for this summer, and we're going to start to see it recede at some point later in the summer.
Okay, so we're going to have a dry summer is what they're anticipating. Okay.
Or at least not an above average.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then, are the public bathrooms open at the marina?
The public bathrooms are not open just yet. They're still under repair. Once they are completed, we will open them to the public. We did let everybody know who has inquired, and the SBAA inquired as well, that the Village Hall bathrooms are open, as well as Hendrickson Park. I know it's an inconvenience, but they are under construction. It's just not safe.
You affirm to Birdo's, don't you?
Pardon?
You affirm to the bathroom at Birdo's, that's what I'm telling everybody.
I know, and that's what everybody's doing.
I'm joking, Denise, I don't say that to anybody.
And I think they're going to be open by Memorial Day. I mean, they're just putting the finishing touches on things.
Yep, they're scheduled for that.
Okay. Yeah, other businesses don't let people use their bathrooms and they send them to me. So anyway, that's my problem. And then the last question I have is, so the anonymous objections, do we have copies of those? Do we know what those objections said? And why is an anonymous objection given any validity?
You're muted, Bo.
Yep, sorry about that. Denise, to answer your question, I can have written copies, which is the same ones that were received there. I don't have them currently. The two objections that I heard from, and that came from Representative Jacques, or Senator Jacques, that one, that the price was too high, the price tag was too high, and he said that comes almost on every proposal for a Nelson Stewardship Grant, only because it's anonymous, so some representatives feel like they need to do that. The other one was the concern that the village had already purchased the property before we applied for the grant. In my mind, and the land trust agrees with me, if we can get in a room and present this project, it's a very unique project, and I think that once people fully understand what they are objecting to and see what this property is and what it's for, they may be hesitant, and I still am confident. I think a vote would go in our favor.
And is that a foregone conclusion that we're going to have to present in person?
In person or on Zoom, I think if it goes to a vote at the Joint Finance Committee, yes, we would like to speak on that.
So but they still could approve it with two objections?
They still could approve it with two objections.
I guess to me, there's a lot of money on the line, and I'd be all for getting whatever resources you feel are necessary, whether that be legal or a land person or graphics, spend some money on some nice posters or whatever you feel is necessary to try to get the full amount of the grant. I mean, to spend even, I'm throwing a wild number out here, $5,000 to capture hundreds of thousands is money well spent.
Hey, Bo?
Yes.
Can you give me if you have access to this, I'm sure I can Google it and figure it out, but it will go to finance with the state, correct?
Correct.
If you could give me every member of that committee, I will start.
Chad, I have a list, and I would be happy to include you in on those conversations that I'm having.
Yeah, I still want to contact myself. I'm not telling you to stop, but I definitely want to just do more.
Yeah, I'll include you in on those conversations. I do plan on meeting.
That's not what he said.
Well,
I just want the list myself to do.
Yeah, I can send them the list. That's fine. I do plan on meeting. I have a phone call organized with Jessica, our DNR rep, tomorrow, so I'll have more information tomorrow morning. I can always send out an email to all the trustees and just keep you up to date when I hear more information, so everyone's aware.
That'd be good.
Well, and I think maybe what Chad was thinking of is, and even the land trust might help, is that if you felt like unsolicited emails to the finance committee in support of the project would help, is to get it out to the Pebble Beach committee or the land trust with, hey, we got some objections, so if anybody's interested in voicing their opinion to the finance committee, if they, you get 2 objections. Well, if they got 20, hey, we think this is a good use of taxpayer money, if that would make a difference, by all means, spread the word.
I've been watching a lot of Yellowstone, so I'm going to take a different approach, but you do it the nice way. Every which way but loose.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, any further questions for Bo, or is that it? Okay, moving on to committee reports. Admin committee, Bo and I are continuing to work on the job description project. We'll be reconvening on that next week. Communication Technology Committee, Nate?
We had a meeting last Thursday. The committee approved the charter internet getting out to a wastewater treatment plant that was done with USDA funds. Correct, Bo?
Yeah, that is correct. The USDA agreed to pay for that upgrade.
So there's 0 expense to the village on that. And also approved the an update of the relatively non-existent network infrastructure that's out at the wastewater treatment plant. New Wi-Fi access points and all that. That's kind of a tricky building because of all the concrete. Wi-Fi does not propagate worth anything from room to room in that.
And if I can just add something, Nate, that approval was only for the internet at the wastewater treatment plant. That was not for what was previously proposed to board with phone services as well. Common Tech will be discussing other phone options like VoIP in the future. So you'll see that coming in a separate discussion.
Nate, do you think it's possible we'll have to hardwire some sort of computer for Kara in that back office, or will Wi-Fi penetrate it ultimately?
Well, I mean, there's going to be the ability to bring wires to everything there. I mean, I think that the switch is going in. There's going to be a 24-port BOE switch that can do all kinds of fantastic things and plug whatever you want into it. It's set up right away to have VoIP phones, so you don't have to, you can just use power over Ethernet, so you run one cable to your phone. I'm sure it won't be an issue to hardwire her in.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Nate? No?
Nope.
Coastal byways, Vivian?
Going forward with planning for the ribbon cutting ceremony on June 17th at 1 p.m. at Lakeside Park in Jacksonport for the National Byway designation. Other than that, kind of updating things, so we're looking at just, rather than reprinting brochures, which we have cases of, getting little stickers to just put on each of those. Other than that, nothing.
I think that might be 1:30, or we'll double check the time, if anyone's interested in going. DCEDC?
There was a meeting yesterday. There was a presentation from DCEDC on just a survey to the community to see where what people are perceiving DCEDC and where they could use help. That was a little bit interesting. I'm sure that'll come through in the packet next time.
Yeah.
Something that was a little bit more interesting is DCEDC is writing a letter to the state and federal representatives requesting that they discontinue the unemployment, enhanced unemployment because of the extreme workforce shortages that are occurring in Door County specifically.
And do they really think one has to do anything with the other when we don't have J1s?
I think that the group down there you're seeing is coming from the industrial park, and I think that they would say that they believe there's a correlation. I hear what you're saying, Denise, but I guess what I would say is they believe that, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, we should not have 6% unemployment with the amount of jobs available to people.
Exactly.
Finance?
Well, you saw that's the audit. We had the meeting and the audit.
Correct. Okay, Fire Board. We have not met. As Pat and I are aware, Lou from Liberty Grove is leaving town. That's creating a vacancy of chair on the Fire Board right now. Chief Hecht is shepherding how that's going to roll out. The department's annual report was passed along to Tasha for her review. I would note that it includes a write-up once again on specifics on the loss of personnel of the fire department due to a lack of affordable housing. And Pat, did you have anything to add on Fire Board?
Nope.
Okay. Ad hoc Friends of Pebble Beach, Chad?
Yeah, we've formed the basis of having a friends group, which we hope to make available and include a lot of people. And what part of the membership includes some service out there each year. We're going to have a couple different tiers. I'm going to be bringing that to Parks to discuss that further. And also we hope to have towards the end of the summer a dinner event out there, a plated dinner event, getting a lot of volunteers from our friends group, getting local restaurants to donate a lot. So we can, start raising some capital out there so we can start doing some things. I know Bo's been working with the land trust to, I think is it all staked out now, Bo?
It should be. I'm going out there tomorrow morning with them if it's not pouring rain.
Then I'm going to go with him on Thursday and walk it over, and we're still hopeful to get some kind of basic rudimentary parking going as soon as we can. But we realize we as a group can't really do anything until we have funds, so we're starting to figure out how to raise money, or form and then raise money.
Denise?
In the minutes, which are from the April 5th meeting, it mentions in there that the town was going to be talking about the no parking signage in the next few days. Where is that at? Saying now it's 6 weeks later.
They talked about it, I believe Bo had said, and they agreed to do it, but they just have they done it yet?
Correct. They agreed to do it at the committee level. I haven't seen any signs go up, so I can call tomorrow morning again and just keep getting them done.
Okay.
If it was Sister Bay, that no parking sign would have been up like that.
Yep.
Now, Chad, were you involved with the development of those donation brochures for Pebble Beach that are in the office here?
I'm not sure what those are.
No, that was for the original property acquisition.
Okay. There were some beautiful brochures in there. I wondered if you had been designing.
We're working on getting a logo. We're going to try to make this, we definitely want to get membership, but we want to make it attainable. We want to get younger people to donate time to this because I think it's a great way to transition. There's tons of people in our community that donate time, and a lot of them are retirees, and a lot of them are in these formal groups where it's so, it's so structured. We're hoping to really bring in a younger group of people, and at any age, but younger people, to hopefully help encourage them to donate time in other areas too. So it's exciting.
Excellent. Scott, Historical Society?
You have March and April minutes in the packet there. Couple other items here. There's been some pretty good media coverage for this Christmas market that they've been working on. Public radio and Spectrum have been carrying a lot of ads. So there's some pretty good response for this for our first year event. As far as the barn off the Crane property, Lance and Fred have been in contact and they've been talking to somebody about moving it. We're probably gonna need permission from Trenchards to go across the golf course or the remains of the golf course. Then I got an email this morning from Roberta Cutlick, the curator out there. Apparently Fred Johnson is in ICU. He's awake, he's breathing tube. Doesn't say what happened, perhaps a stroke. So anyway, the May meeting was basically a Christmas market planning and a very skimpy Historical Society meeting. I have no minutes yet.
Okay. Thank you. Ad hoc ice rink committee.
I had a question.
Sorry, Denise.
Scott, in the minutes, it talked about John Nelson met with On Deck, who is interested in having a historic plaque on its building, and Al Johnson's also. My building's older than Al's. How do I get on that list?
I'll get you on the list.
Okay.
Hey, Scott, I think our building's older than Denise's.
Yep.
Oh, here we go.
All we want is a beer sign to be lit up in the window as our historical marker, because that's history. Planning. Just want some light up beer signs so we can be identified as what we are.
That goes all the way back to the 19th century, I'm sure, Chad.
It goes back further than Al Johnson's building, I'll tell you that.
Scott, Denise's plaque should have a toilet flusher on it too, so everybody knows that it signifies
I'll bring you.
welcome all in the Berto's toilet.
Be a good boy.
I'll throw your names in the ring.
All right.
Thank you, Scott.
Sit, Sherman. Sit, Sherman. Be a good boy.
Ad hoc ice rink committee, as mentioned previously, Miles Danhausen Jr. will move things forward. Keep us posted where it goes there. Ad hoc land acquisition committee.
Yes, we got a good group. We've just been doing brainstorming. We have a group coming in from the University of Wisconsin that's actually doing their own independent study on this. Not has anything to do with us asking. So we're gonna talk a lot about affordable housing. We're gonna try to use that as a platform for this village to kind of maybe move forward in some areas. So we're gonna focus on that for our next meeting. We still got a long way to go in our little brainstorming sessions, I think, and then hopefully we'll as a board, we'll decide to turn it over to some consultants and maybe start getting a plan drawn. But I think we as a board or our ad hoc committee feel that this land out there has to be connected to the village in a proper way for us to continue forward. So to just look at this land without looking at how you get in the village would be kind of irresponsible. So it's probably going to turn into a little bit bigger project than I had hoped to do, Denise. But we have time. We can't make decisions quick on that land anyway. So I think we have a lot of citizens that are bringing a lot of good ideas and want to put some effort into this. So it could turn out to be a really great thing for us.
Excellent.
Library Commission. Vivian.
The minutes are in there. I guess as I read the minutes, I was surprised it didn't mention, at least I missed it if it did. The commission has voted to install the UV light in the ductwork, the HVAC ductwork, to hopefully to kill the viruses. We felt that library is probably the most public building in the village, so if we could do anything to make it safer health-wise, that we should go ahead and do that. So that's what they're doing. Numbers have been good. It's opening up. We're excited. Any questions?
No, other than to say I think that's a great idea. I put the UV lights in my house, and there's a lot of good research. I mean, that's good on flu and all kinds of typical stuff too. So just a good general idea.
Common cold, everything. Hey, let's get rid.
Right.
Scott, Marina Fest. Anything on Marina Fest?
Marina Fest, the meeting we had in March, I believe it was, We're just continuing with the planning. At that point, we didn't know that things would be improving as quickly. We've also started discussion on funds to the nonprofits, how that'll be distributed when and if the committee gives the go-ahead to start paying those funds out.
Okay, thank you. Pat, obviously, we haven't had enough time in a while to talk about anything related to the marina. Do you have anything to update us on in there?
We heard plenty, unless anybody's got questions.
Denise?
At last month's meeting, we didn't address any of the committee minutes, and some of them are in here, but the April Marina meeting minutes are not in the packet.
Okay. I'm not sure. I think that's somebody from the administration office that puts those in the packet, so I'm not sure who to ask.
So
Heidi, do you know what happened?
that all the ones that, we didn't address, because I had questions on that particular, on April's meeting.
Heidi,
You can include that in
can you
next month's-
unmute yourself, please, Heidi? Do you know what happened with those minutes that Denise is looking for? Have they been approved yet?
Those are the ones I had asked you about because I thought that we addressed those at last month's meeting.
Yeah, we can just include them in next month's meeting, Denise, if you have any questions on them, and then we can approve them in next month's meeting.
So Heidi, are you saying that none of those minutes transferred to this packet?
The April minutes I took out because I had thought that we discussed those specifically at the last board meeting.
Okay. So we'll have to have April's then.
We can do that.
Okay.
So it wasn't a Dean Warmer double secret probation meeting, it was a regular meeting.
Regular meeting.
Right. Parks, properties, and streets. Last meeting was cut short. We'll still need to establish the June date for the annual spring walking tour of the parklands. Denise, did you have anything you wanted to add? Chad, did you have anything you wanted to add to parks?
Well, I missed our last meeting. We're on for June 7th, right? Did I miss our last one, or was that 2 ago I missed? We're on for
No,
June-
you missed
Probably both.
no, just the last one, Chad. And yeah, it is already scheduled.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we're just talking about roads now, right? We're done with talking about parks? Just roads?
Well, you'll have to wait for the agenda.
See, you missed the one that we talked about roads.
Go figure. Go
I
figure.
know.
It was me, right?
Personnel committee, Pat?
We're going to talk a little bit about that in closed with personnel things, and we can go from there, I guess. How about?
Sounds good. Plan commission, Denise?
The work continues. It's a good group of people. Good conversation, good consensus on changes to the code. So I'm pleased, which is rare.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that's because I'm arguing with myself so much. You're enjoying that.
I am enjoying that, Nate.
That was the first time I've heard you actually say something rather than just say read the minutes. That was great.
Well, I'm usually just exhausted
It's a hard job, what you guys on planning. It's a hard job.
I think the strategy of sharing the screen and editing on the screen when we do code rewrites really helps the committee and steers questions and makes changes quick. I think it's good.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Wait till you see what we did.
I'm just glad you're working on it, right? I'm not going to be an armchair quarterback on everything. I mean, it's a labor. It's hard. I get it. So I appreciate you guys putting the time in.
SBAA, a couple notes of high-level notes. Concerts and movies in the park begin on June 23rd. The old Schoolhouse Visitor Center opens on May 26th for daily hours. I will mention to the trustees that Louise and I agreed to disagree about how they're going to move forward with operations, and that's in the visitor centers. Louise's position is there'll be no direct access to brochures for visitors, and that this is out of staff concerns regarding COVID. My point was, considering what's happening with how things are opening up and mandates are being lifted, guidelines are lessening, that to be most welcoming to our visitors, certainly it would not be, in my opinion, out of the realm of normalcy to let them select their own brochures and have them out for selection. Louise feels that the staff she has is adamant that they need that extra protection still. The other thing of note, Festival of Fine Arts this year will include a first-time legacy artist display. They're working on who all that's going to include. Emmett Johns should be a part of it. Austin Frazier should be a part of it. For anyone who is interested, as that list expands, if you have any artwork by any of those legacy artists and are interested in sharing it and making it part of the display, that will be most welcomed. I've offered the Austin Frazier stuff I have, if they would like to use it, and we'll keep you posted from there on that. Tourism Zone meets Thursday. I'll be out of town. Bo will be part of that meeting. There's going to be a lot of comparison numbers discussed the rest of this year, comparing 2021 numbers to 2019 to kind of subtract out the COVID implication and see how we're doing in relation to what was a very substantial year in 2019. In that regard, in March, the month of March, in-person visits to the County Visitor Center were up 75% in 2021 versus 2019. That was 2,100 people versus 1,200. And in those year comparisons, the month of March, general phone and web inquiries to the Visitor Center were up 37%. As far as J1s, embassies overseas starting to loosen up with J1 visa applications. Apparently, Romanian embassy started to process J1 visas last week. As of last week, they were the only European nation doing that, EU nation doing that so far. I don't know if that's changed in the past few days. Utilities, we dealt with earlier in the agenda. Youth Center will be meeting at the end of the month. We'll elect officers and begin the discussion on 2021/22 off-season event possibilities. Do we take a motion to approve committee reports?
We
Yeah,
have Board of Review minutes.
Oh, I don't think we get to tell Denise anything about that. Second year now, she misses it. That's more secret than Fight Club, Denise.
The best meeting of the year, Denise. Best meeting of the year, by far.
Yeah.
Well,
Do we have
I
to
won't go into
disclose?
detail, but I scratched 3 of my 5 meetings that week. Okay.
Well, we took turns on deciding which days we're gonna toilet paper your house.
Okay.
That's all we accomplished.
Okay. Excellent. I know that you love me then.
Yeah. Yeah, toilet paper's worth gold still, so that is a big win.
Motion to accept committee reports?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Baker, second by Bell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 17, consider a motion to convene into executive session to, I have the draft without the right verbiage on here.